Hello my friends, Hank here, welcome back to the channel. Now, last week we took a crack at weathering up a 1/35th scale Tiger I from the North African theater of World War II. So today I figure it's only fitting that we now paint up a commander to pop up in the cupola there. Painting 1/35th scale Afrika Korps Panzer Crewmen, made easy, coming right up. Let's do it. For today's demo, we'll be using this lovely resin figure from the good folks over at Alpine Miniatures. As always, I've gone ahead and temporarily mounted our body and our head on two separate drywall screws with a dot of super glue to serve as some simple painting jigs. Let's begin by priming our figures with a coat of black primer to give us a nice solid base to work up from. Okay, for our first paint coat, we're going to spray the bulk of our uniform here with some Vallejo Olive Gray. The standard issue tropical uniform issued to all regular Army troops operating in Africa was a variation of the M40 tunic in a mid to lightweight olive drab cotton, but you'll see lots of variation in color photographs and surviving pieces of kit from the theater. These uniforms tended to start a bit darker olive like we're shooting for here, and would often sun bleach to a lighter khaki color after many months in the field. But importantly, they were not field gray like you see with the standard issue Wehrmacht uniforms up in Europe. So let's spray a coat of this olive gray all over our uniform and on the M40 peaked cap he's wearing up there on his noggin. Alright, with our base uniform color applied, let's move over to our brushwork. We're going to be using our tried and true Faces Made Easy technique here, starting with an application of flat flesh as our base tone. For a full detailed breakdown on beginner face painting techniques, I highly recommend checking out my full tutorial on the process right here. While we have our flat flesh loaded up, let's get some of that on our hands as well. Next, let's give our fella a little bit of an eye line here. We can very carefully dot in two little spots in each of the eye sockets with the eye color of your choosing. Now let's go ahead and apply a light rust wash all over our exposed skin to add a little warmth and some color to our flesh. As you can see, this will flow into all the details of the sculpt, and while the product is still wet, we can use our brush to pull off some of the excess on the raised flat portions of the face. We're going to repeat the same technique with our hands as well. At this stage, let's brush in some hair for our figure. He's got a little bit of hair poking out the back of his hat here. And now, returning to our initial flat flesh tone, let's add a light pass over the raised features of our face, the cheekbones, the nose, the chin, etc. We're also going to do this with the back of our hands, our knuckles, and our fingers as well. Alright, using some flat black, we can very carefully pencil in his throat microphone and his headphones. Go slow, take your time, so you don't have to come back and paint over any mistakes if you can avoid it. For the markings on our cap, we can draw in a little bit of red piping in the front here, like so. And with a couple dots of white aluminum, we can finish up the job there as well. To add a little contrast here, let's lighten up his trousers a little bit. We're going to block these in with some German field gray. Now, I know I said these uniforms wouldn't have been issued in field gray, but sitting next to our olive gray, this achieves a really nice effect to kind of capture that slightly faded Afrika Korps uniform pretty well. So that's what we're going to do here. For an interesting pop of color, I'm going to paint up his sweater here with some Brawn Violet. Now, these wouldn't be a piece of standard issue kit, but rather something this crewman picked up along the way or brought from home to help deal with these cold nights in the desert. Fun little personal touch. These big field binoculars slung around our figure's neck can be painted in with some desert yellow. I overpainted a little bit on the uniform here by accident, as you can see, but nothing we can't come back and fix with a bit of our original uniform color. Now we're starting to get into some of the finer details. Using some white aluminum, let's pull out the details on his chest eagle, the buttons on the uniform, the Panzer Division skulls on his lapels, and his Panzer assault badge. Cleanup can be done, once again, with our original uniform color for any mistakes. For the leather strap of the binoculars, we're going to very carefully draw this in with a little bit of red leather. The piping on his shoulder boards should be drawn in with some red or some pink, depending on what you have. I'm using red, which gets the job done just fine. And we'll accentuate these two pips here with a little bit of white aluminum as well. And for our last step, let's tackle painting these tropical knee-high boots. For the canvas uppers, we're going to paint these in with some green gray. And then we can come back and paint in the leather portions on the bottom of the boots with some red leather. For a final touch, we can dry brush a little bit of flat black over the laces to help accentuate those as well. Okay, with that, our painting phase is complete. We're looking pretty good. Let's spray a coat of gloss varnish over everything to prepare for a bit of weathering. Once our gloss coat is cured, let's attach our head into position with a bit of super glue, like so. And for our weathering, we're going to do a simple pin wash with some enamel dark wash and a bit of odorless thinner to help the product flow into our details. Simply apply a bit of the wash product around some of the detailed areas of the sculpt, and then return with some enamel thinner to help that flow into the recessed details of the figure. This will remove any excess from the raised flat areas where we don't want it pooling, as well as to help accentuate all of the little details that we talked about before. And once that's dried completely, all that's left to do is spray our figure with a coat of matte varnish to knock down that shininess and lock in all of our work. And with that, we've got ourselves an Afrika Korps Panzer Commander right at home up there in his Tiger cupola. I hope you guys enjoyed the tutorial. Thank you so much for tuning in. I hope it was helpful. I will be off next week on a family vacation, so no new full modeling videos next week, though I probably will check in with you guys with some updates on what I am up to. But until next time, my friends, be well, happy building, cheers.